Hey and welcome, I'm Hammeh and it's the return of a series you've asked for, where we're getting to know more about the people behind the characters of Overwatch. I had a lot of fun and the honour of having a chat with Anjali Bhimani, the voice actor behind Symmetra. We talked about her enthusiasm and appreciation for the Overwatch and Blizzard community, her performing and acting life in theatre, TV and film, her gaming history including Dungeons & Dragons, her YouTube channel, mythology, Star Trek, the challenges of storytelling, and a whole lot more. As you can imagine, this is a long video and chat, so please use the time codes in the description below if you want to skip to a particular question or topic. You can just click the numbers and it should jump you through, or you can see the times to skip to. Please do go check out Anjali's YouTube channel and Twitter. The links are in the description and the pinned comment and at the end of the video, and please do say hi from me. Okay, let's get stuck in. Okay, I'm here with Anjali Bhimani. Have I got that right in terms of...
You got that perfect. You're the first person in a while. Great job.
Well, you very, very kindly write it on your Twitter bio, so I had absolutely no excuse for getting that wrong.
You'd be surprised. People still read it and call me all sorts of exciting names. But, you know, I mean, I'll answer to Paul, really, if, you know, anybody really wants to get in touch with me or whatever, you know. So thank you. Anyway, thank you for taking the time to pronounce it right. That was really sweet.
Thank you for taking the time to have a chat. So how are things going? I imagine it's been a crazy year all around, and you've got a Comicon coming up in LA?
Yeah, things are, starting, it starts tomorrow, and we're going to be there. This is Stan Lee's LA Comicon, and I'm going to be there Saturday and Sunday along with several of the Overwatch family members. Going to be there with Johnny Cruz and Charlotte Chung and Lucy Pohl and Keith Silverstein. So we're all going to be there giving out hugs and listening to stories and signing stuff and all sorts of fun things. But as for the year, it's been kind of an amazing year. And I mean, both if I look at the calendar year and just a year ago today, there's been a lot of excitement. There's been a lot of change, good and maybe not as desirable, but change that's led to growth. Really good year. I cannot complain.
Awesome. I mean, just from looking at your Instagram, a little bit on Twitter, you've obviously been sort of all over the world with sort of conventions and things. You're going to be in Ireland as well, aren't you, next month?
Yes, I'm so excited. Carolina and I are going to be over there at Game Expo Ireland.
That's
what it's called, Gaming Expo Ireland, which I'm super excited about because I actually just got to visit Scotland for the first time recently, and I've spent a ton of time in the UK, but I hadn't ever made it out to Ireland. So very excited to spend a little bit of time in Dublin. Wish I could stick around longer. But it'll be a good little teaser for the next time. And then hopefully I'll be able to come out there sometime in the summer to really appreciate the green. Because, you know, I want to see the emerald that makes it the Emerald Isle.
It's a beautiful place. I too flew through sort of Cork in the south of Ireland, and it's beautiful. I was only there for a couple of days with work as well, a lifetime ago it seems now. But yeah, an absolutely amazing place. Is that going to be the end of your year then? Are you sort of going to have some time off over Christmas, or is it always just sort of very breakneck?
Usually it's pretty breakneck. Conventions are not really like the main, even though it looks like it on social media. I spend a lot of time, you know, obviously working during the weekdays and stuff as an actress. And most of my time is actually spent as a television and theater actress. The voice acting is this added wonderful perk that came into my life in the last few years. So I'm likely going to be working on some things that I can't talk to you about.
Exciting.
I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you, you know, one of those things.
I like staying alive, thank you very much.
Yes, no, I like all of my friends to stay alive, so we're going to leave you just as you are.
Thank you.
But it'll probably be right up until maybe the week before Christmas, and then hopefully using the holiday season to do a little bit of traveling and spend time with family, and then start up right again first week of January. Bam.
Amazing stuff. So yeah, I mean, obviously you mentioned that most of your work is sort of TV acting and then also theatre acting. It'd be really cool to just sort of have a bit of a chat about that. You've been doing this for pretty much
since the dawn of time.
Well, since the dawn of time plus a little bit longer. Did you always sort of want to be an actor, or is it sort of something that sort of came to you?
You know, it's funny. I always loved performing. And I think a lot of kids do. You know, I think that's kind of innately in everybody's putting on little skits with their friends in the house and stuff like that. But I don't think I really understood that it was something I could actually do as a career choice until closer to high school. But I loved acting. I remember seeing my first live musical in junior high. did the school plays, and then started doing community theater in addition to school plays, started dancing. When I went to college, I also became a dancer. So I was doing musicals, I was doing plays, I was dancing in a company. It all just kind of started to fall into place in this beautiful way. And because I am easily bored, I just wanted to get my hands in every possible part of it as I could. So thankfully, the college that I went to, Northwestern, had a theater degree, not just an acting degree or some kind of performance.
Gotcha.
So those of us who were lucky enough to go there got an education in not just performing, but design and dramaturgy and history and directing. And you had to learn a little bit of everything so that when you got out of school, you had an appreciation for the whole, and you could decide where you wanted to specialize when you went out into the world, which was really great.
Awesome.
So I instead just didn't specialize. I just kept doing a little bit of everything.
Did you kind of sort of go for a little bit more theatre, or was that something
I did.
After experimenting?
No. I did. And I think part of that, that was mostly what I was exposed to, because even growing up south of Los Angeles, one would think that, I had access to LA and Hollywood, but even growing up in Southern California, I didn't really feel the accessibility of being a TV actor until well into my adult years. I didn't really recognize that was an additional lane that I could be working in, probably until really I moved to New York in 2001. So theater was my language. Theater was my first language, my first love. And really, I loved it so much. I still do. I make it sound like it's dead. No, I love it so much because like any kind of live performance, whether it's music or dance, you have this immediate connection with the other people in the room, and immediate feedback in the realm of, whether it's laughs or people gasping or anything like that. You can the energy between the audience and you on the stage is palpable. There's an implied connection and understanding about all of us being in the same space that is a beautiful thing. And while I also love doing television and film and voice acting, the one thing that's different is that I don't get that immediate connection to the audience. So
for sure,
we don't get that gratification of knowing how it has landed in the moment, unless we're talking to people after they've seen something or after they've played the game, which is why I love these conventions so much and being on social media, because you can have that connection in a way, even though it's not while people are playing the game, you can have that connection with people now, with people who are fans of the game or fans of television or whatever. I can connect with them and be like, oh, tell me how this affected you. Oh, that's great. I love that. You like this story? You like this character? Awesome. And then it feels very gratifying in that way.
I can imagine, like, when, the Symmetra Hindi lines came out recently, for example, that must have just lit up your Twitter feed very, very quickly.
Well, it just made me feel it made me very happy, because I know that a lot of people had wanted that, and I can't speak to the reason why it happened when it did and didn't happen when it didn't, because that's that's entirely Blizzard's. But I can say that I know they are always very in tune and very much listening to what the fan base wants and to what people who are connecting with each character want to hear and want from it. So I was just really grateful. That they put it out there, and that people were so pleased with it. Because there are also, there's a long journey for all of these characters coming. And so we want it to be a very happy long-term relationship with the fans that lasts as long as we can.
That's really, really amazing. And yeah, it's sort of, Blizzard obviously are known for their very, very long sort of stories and things. Does it sort of ever occur to you that maybe, you could potentially be playing Symmetra in sort of 10, maybe 15 years' time? Or is that
God, it hasn't just occurred to me. I'm praying for it. because again, I hate using the word fans, and I really want to retract it. It really does feel like a community, not fans. People might be fans of the game, but in terms of the way I get to connect with everyone, it's been a real community. I've seen relationships start. I've seen people encouraging each other. All of the fan art, like there's so much stuff. All of the stuff that's coming out. It's such a cohesive group of people that are connecting with this. And that, to me, is something that is sustainable indefinitely. That doesn't live around a particular person. It doesn't live around something with a shelf life. it lives as long as people contribute to the community that they've built themselves. So I'm hoping that I get to be a part of that community for as long as they'll have me. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, yeah, I mean, with some of Blizzard's games, they've been going since the late 90s and things. So fingers
right?
crossed over. Yeah, it's amazing. So fingers crossed Overwatch is around for a very long time. You've kind of jumped into sort of like, you've done a lot of different theatre. I mean, you've done sort of as you like it. So you've done like Shakespearean stuff. You've done musical theatre. Is there any sort of theatre role or play or musical that you think, I'd actually really like to do that if I had the opportunity, sort of some kind of dream role or something like that?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's always so hard because I hope this doesn't speak to me being a lazy actor, but I'm waiting for someone to write it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's one role that has been written, and I've become very good friends with the playwright, and we've worked on it together in several incarnations. There's a role that I played, Safia Das, in a play called Roof of the World, that had been a dream role for many years. Ever since she first sent me the script backstage and asked me to do a reading of it, and I said, I'm in love with this character, I'm in love with this script, I will pay you to let me do it, please, let's figure this out. And it was the beginning of a beautiful friendship, and we're still friends to this day. So that role, but now I've had a chance to live with it, so I can't say it's like the dream role that I would play in the future. And also, this might sound like a cop-out, but I fall in love with so many of the roles that I've been lucky to play as I play them, that it's hard to know what the dream role would be.
For sure.
I definitely am looking for something right now that is a combination of action hero and comedian. Like, I'm looking because nothing in my life ever good came from trying to look cool. It always came from just, being who I am and screwing things up and being a dork in public, and whatever happens, happens. And at the same time, I love action. I love that genre. I love any kind of physical connection to characters. So if there was something where I could be a big dork and be an action hero at the same time, I'd be totally into that.
So in
100%.
So Roof of the World, it was like this sort of an Indian spy for the British kind of thing?
Yes, she's a real action hero. She's a straight up action hero, but got just a beautiful, beautiful love story. She's an Indian spy for the British during the time of the British Raj, during the reign of the Raj, who falls in love with a British explorer. And the explorer was actually based on a real explorer named George Hayward, who was beheaded in the Hindu Kush.
Oh, wow.
Which makes it obviously a very unfortunately timely story, because we have that happening these days, unfortunately, in that same region. But it's a sweeping, epic romance adventure, far pavilions, Jewel in the Crown, a little bit of, what is it, oh my God, why am I forgetting this? The Man Who Would Be King. A little bit of all of that. These beautiful, like, epic yarns. That are the playwright D. Tucker Smith said, I want this to be something that make people think of, like, sitting by the fire and reading a good yarn. So yeah, it's a special play, and it's timely and huge, and I'm looking forward to the next incarnation as we continue to work with it and change it up and find new homes for it.
It looks amazing to see. I mean, I just saw a photo on your website, and it's basically swinging on some ropes or something. I was like, is that
I know, right?
Is she playing a pirate there or something? And then
I know there she is. She's incognito. It's a beautiful, beautiful story. And that was, you just reminded me, I really need to update my website too. But it's this beautiful, I can't speak enough to the, how sweeping it is, and how touching the story is, and the love story between the two lead characters, and the way the family changes and everything. It's a really special piece. Just the story of the piece is so beautiful, and then you add the way she writes, and it's just lovely.
Awesome. I sort of saw recently on your Twitter, and I didn't realise actually how much, how obviously in the UK I'm a little familiar with sort of our universities and their degrees and what they're known for. I didn't know how well known Northwestern was for sort of theatre and things like that. And I spotted that Zach Braff was a fellow Northwestern alumni.
Yeah, we went there. Yeah, totally. Which is why it was so great that we got to work together recently, because it was like a big old NU reunion. But yeah, no, Northwestern has two programs. It has it has many programs, obviously, but it has a theater program and it has a radio, television, film program. So Zach and other friends of mine were in the RTVF program, and I was in the theater program with a bunch of other theater people. And then I've just been lucky, like many people, to bridge the gap between the two, because in today's world we can. It used to be a long time ago, you're either a theater actor or you're a television actor or you're a commercial actor, and never the twain shall meet. But now we have the ability. The freedom, I should say. We have the freedom to do that, and it just depends on whether people have the desire to do that or not.
On your YouTube, actually, which we'll talk about a bit later as well, you've got a lot of you singing on there as well, and you've got a fantastic voice. Have you ever thought about sort of, doing sort of more of the musical side of things, or is that something you just sort of do for fun?
It's funny you ask that. I've thought of it. And it's certainly like on the to-do list. It just hasn't been the highest priority. I have spent many years, since I started with a love of musicals when I was younger. I also started with a desperate desire to sound the way the world wanted me to sound in order to do those musicals. And I discovered through my education that my voice was a little different. And that maybe it wasn't going to be, I wasn't going to be the big belter on Broadway. I wasn't going to be all of these different things. And what's been a lovely journey over the last few decades has been making the decision to be singing in my own voice for my own reasons. And if I get to do a musical, then fantastic. And if I get to do an album, then fantastic. Or if I get to do, anything like that. But ultimately, it's been very freeing not to try to fit into a certain sound like I was doing for so many years, which is a trap for performers of all levels, of all different media, whether you're an actor or a singer or a dancer, thinking that you have to be the thing that they want you to be. And so at the moment, most of my singing is for my own, purposes. I mean, I love it when people ask me to sit in, like they did in Australia, like Herbie Crackle let me sit in with them, or getting up at Birdland and singing when I'm out there visiting in New York and stuff like that. That's super fun for me. And doing musicals, obviously, I love doing musicals when the fit is right. But I haven't really. I have thought of recording a few things. It's just figuring out the right way to put it out in the world, because if I want to sing something that's already out there that I haven't written or someone hasn't written for me, I want to make sure there's a reason I'm doing a new version of it.
Oh, for sure.
I don't want it to just be like, look at how good I sound, because ultimately there are people in the world with much better voices than I am. It has to be a reason that this gives something unique to people who are listening, and I want to make sure that if I put something out there, people get a unique experience of it.
You have, of course, been on Broadway, though. You've done been in Metamorphoses. Was that Tony nominated or Tony winning? I can't quite remember.
Tony winner, won for Best Director, also nominated for Best Play and Best Lighting. And our director, Mary Zimmerman, has been a dear friend and collaborator ever since, soon after I graduated college. I did my first play with her. And she's utterly fantastic. I mean, obviously, if we've worked together and been friends for so long. But yeah, no, that was my first Broadway show. And then I did a show called Bombay Dreams, which you guys also had out in the UK.
For sure.
I did that on Broadway too. So yeah, done a little bit of, I've been really lucky. I've done a little bit of everything. I've done an opera. I've done, like dance, singing, voice acting. I mean, there are so many lanes, and I've been very lucky that people have been foolish enough to hire me so that I could have fun doing them. Obviously, tongue in cheek. So I mean, I feel like I did a decent job, so I'm not completely foolish to hire me. But yeah, I've lucked out.
You've also had the opportunity to wrestle a god as well, of course, or a demigod as well.
I have, although I got to tell you, if I'd used my other arm, I totally would have beat him.
I could
It was
tell
just
that.
I had to use that arm because the camera was over there, and it was just, whatever. Plus, I really wanted Carolina to get the chance to boop him, so I had to throw it. I had to throw the fight.
This is there's a wonderful picture that I might flash up over the video of you arm wrestling Chris Hemsworth, or Thor, of course, at Supernova, isn't it, over in Australia?
Yeah, what a sweetheart too. What a great guy. He was super, super kind and sweet, and we talked for a little bit. And it's always so, I shouldn't say surprising, because it's not surprising, but it's always so nice when the biggest name superstars, mega talents out there are as down to earth and kind and conversational as he was, and as so many of the people that we met there, Dean Cain and all sorts of other people, just people who are just people first. That always makes me really happy and proud to be an actor, because I think the image of the big diva, male or female, is an unfortunate one and really isn't the norm. I think there are a lot more down-to-earth, really cool human beings who happen to be actors rather than actors and actresses,
actors,
that way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually sort of, I mean, I've been pleasantly surprised, and it's lovely to hear that. Sort of, it's very much the same in like the YouTube world as well. I've met a few people from sort of very big channels and things like that. Who have their own sort of internet, online sort of presence and things. And I think it's easy to forget that people are people at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it always makes me. It does make me sad when someone is not that way, because I think they're not having as much fun as they could be. I feel like if you're having a good time doing this job, even the hard parts, then it's a lot easier to be a human being. If you're not having a good time, then I feel badly,
Coming on to sort of the whole sort of Symmetra and Blizzard experience. I mean, we've touched on it before, and I know you've talked previously about how you sort of got into the role and things. Was there a sort of a moment that kind of struck you where you suddenly thought, holy crap, this is a really big thing, or it's bigger than I imagined that it was? Sort of.
Yeah, I mean, there were several moments. There were several moments. I guess I might as well share this story. So I think when the first trial came out, when the beta came out, or what they had called it at the time, and forgive me if I didn't just use the right language, but when it first came out, my better half and his friend were hanging out at a bar, and I was at home working on lines for an audition. And he texted me, and he said, "Oh my God, you're not going to believe what just happened." So I called and asked what happened. And apparently they had been at the bar and talking to some people, and they asked this girl, "So, what are you into right now? What's your thing?" She said, "Well, I'm really into this new game called Overwatch. It just came out, and I'm playing the beta." And he was like, "Oh, I think my girl's in that." And she said, no, that's not true. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's in that." She's like, "No, tell me she's not Symmetra." And he was like, "No, that sounds familiar. Let me text her and ask." And he said, yeah. And then he showed a picture of Symmetra, and she freaked out, and her friend apparently started screaming and ran out the door. So that is extreme to me, obviously extreme, because that's not my life experience. But because he's a musician and they do pretty darn well for themselves. For sure. He was like, "I don't know what you just got into. I don't know what just happened, but that was crazy." And I'm like, "Well, good. It's about time you have that experience instead of me being at a bar and telling people." But that was it was moments like that that are wildly humbling. Because, I'm just me. I'm just doing my job, and I'm just, putting whatever good energy and stuff that I can out there. But for people to be having that positive experience because of something I was even 1% involved with has been huge. And then obviously as the game came out and the online reception to it, and then being at the cast party last year, the cast rap party with Johnny and the rest of the gang, and making the videos and all of these things, it's been a steady pace that it's been clearer how big a deal it is. And also just people, I had an Uber driver the other day mention it to me before I mentioned anything about it. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm in the game." Stuff like that where it has become a part of people's consciousness in the zeitgeist. It's become a part of our daily stuff. Is huge. And I still sort of don't believe it, because I also don't think of myself as a huge part of it, which maybe I probably should, but I just don't. I know the developers and Blizzard are really the core of that game and the community, and So yeah, that was a long answer to a very short question. For social media, I have three basic rules. I like to post things that inspire and make people feel good. I like to post things to promote, whether it's my projects or the projects of the people I care about, my friends, my family, all that. And then I like to post fun animal videos, because who doesn't need a good puppy video? That's pretty much it for now. Because I think and that's why, I just love to be promoting. I love even the people who are putting their art out on Twitter. I love retweeting that stuff. I love sharing it, because people are putting themselves out there. People are, whether it's their music or their art or their, podcasts or whatever. I'm always trying to promote other things. Because once you are blessed enough to be given a wider voice and a way to reach more people, I feel like it's your responsibility to use it wisely. So yeah, I like to promote the things of the people that I dig.
Awesome. Obviously, you've sort of talked before in terms of sort of, how you got the gig and things like that. Are there any sort of Symmetra's lines? And obviously, being, working as an actor and, is there anything that you sort of done when doing voice acting or anything like that, or Symmetra's lines that you sort of read it and you tried to say it and just sort of made you corpse with laughter, or sort of made you really giggle?
I was really happy about setting up the car wash because it was our first chance to really get a sense of humor out of her. So that one made me giggle. I was very, very, very pleased. But I can't say, Symmetra is not a particularly giddy with laughter character. So there weren't any. I was also very tickled by that, oldie but goodie, you were not meant for greatness. Because it's the most elegant. She's so capable of elegantly dissing people. She has a way of being like, what she said sounded really pretty, but it was really mean. I can't tell if I've been insulted or not.
And also quite deep at the same time, sort of,
yes,
questioning your entire philosophical reason for being in about 6 words.
Exactly. And it's so not who I am in real life to be that person, that it's really fun to be able to do that. I really do love playing opposites of myself. I mean, I'm very happy to play things that are similar to my own experience. But now, later in my career, I'm really enjoying branching out and stepping into roles that are far from something that I necessarily would get to do in my real life. And she's one of them, because she's kind of this incredibly elegant badass. And I am not an incredibly elegant badass. I'd like to think I'm badass in different ways.
So obviously you've mentioned like sort of your goofy or comedic sort of action hero. Like what's the most sort of opposite your personality role that you'd like to give a go? Like a gang boss or well,
I've already done that actually.
Okay.
I did that on Criminal Minds Beyond Borders. I played a Indian mafia boss in the slums of Mumbai, which was awesome. And then also a very evil madam in a brothel in Mumbai in a new movie that just came out called Trafficked with Ashley Judd. So that kind of stuff I'm very much leaning into right now and enjoying. Yeah, God, there are so many. I mean, I love, being as I like to say, a fun-sized person, being a smaller, petite framed person. A lot of times people underestimate what someone of this size might be able to do. And I love the fact that in the theater and in voice acting and in television, it really doesn't matter, because I can play the mafia boss. I can play the action hero. I can play all of these things. So, I think what we already talked about, just kind of like a comedic action hero would be great. I'd really be leaning into that. I'm trying to think of anything else right now. I've been doing so much comedy recently that I'm really enjoying that. But I wouldn't mind cutting my teeth on some more drama, since I haven't done that in a little bit.
Awesome. You mentioned sort of I am Funsize, and that sort of leads nicely to your sort of YouTube channel and all the stuff you've been kind of talking about recently. Yeah, I think you said we should be living fun-sized lives, and you sort of talk a lot about sort of, since earlier this year, like positivity and sort of talking with people who sort of email into you and things. Was there anything that kind of prompted you to sort of, is this something you've always wanted to do, or you sort of decided, you know what, I'm as you said earlier, going to use this platform to sort of start talking about things that you're passionate about?
It was something that I had wanted to do in some way way or another, whether a blog or a website or something, for a really long time. But as often happens with many of us with great ideas, I was overwhelmed with trying to get it right and trying to figure out, oh, what's the right way to do this? And then I would ask people and they'd give me advice, and then I'd be overwhelmed with too much advice. And finally, the ultimate thing that gave me the kick in the pants to finally do it was actually the Overwatch community and their incredible generosity of putting their own art out there and their own, like, they've been so, what I did was the very day I decided to record that first video saying, this is what I'm doing, guys, and I don't know if I'm going to get it right, but this is what I want to do, was that I had asked to do a Fan Art Friday. I wanted to see everybody's art. And the response was so extraordinary. People were so prolific, and the work was so much fun, and everybody had their own style, and no one was afraid, or if they were conquering that fear and putting it out there. So I'm sitting on the couch and I'm looking at all of this stuff, and I was like, Anjali, for goodness sake, if all of these people can put themselves out there, then you better get your butt in gear and put yourself out there and do something worthy of them. So that was my inspiration for finally recording that very first video. And very specifically wanting people to understand, because I think it's a common misconception even with my explanation of it. Having a fun-sized life doesn't mean being small. It means the opposite. It means no matter what size you are, no matter what gender you are, sexual orientation, race, anything, whether you're a space monkey, whether you're a dog, I don't care. We're all here to be able to live the fullest life. You know, I Am Funsize is a catchy name, but we all are fun size. We are all built to enjoy the fullest life that we can. So what I wanted to do was, in any way that people wanted/needed me to do, that I could do with that larger voice that, like we mentioned before, I wanted to be able to do it. And what I started to find was, there's a handful of, there are a lot of people who will write in about Symmetra questions, which I honestly can't answer because I don't have those answers. Those are questions for the folks at Blizzard.
Absolutely.
But I can talk to you about my life experience, and I have no interest in giving advice, but I can tell you my opinions. I can tell you what has worked for me in the past. I can let everybody know that even if you think that for some reason this quote unquote celebrity, which still cracks me up because I'm just this, I'm just like a dude, I'm just like a person. But you think that this person somehow has it all figured out. Hell no, I don't have it all figured out. Not even close. I'm figuring it out as we all are. Sometimes it helps to have someone who's been through an experience and figured out a way to the other side, or someone to reflect back what they see in you, because it's very easy for me, and this is where I'm, again, the opposite of Symmetra, it's very easy for me to look at someone and see how they were meant for greatness. It's very easy for me to look at someone and be like, what are you excited about and how can I help you get it? That for me is the whole point of being here on the planet, is taking care of each other, helping each other, and helping each other to be better people and have a better world. Like otherwise, we can all walk through life and get things and attain things, but what's the point?
Easy come,
easy go. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, no, I don't know anyone who would say, what is happiness? It's money. I don't know anyone who would say, what is happiness? It's a 72-inch TV. Like, I don't know anyone who would say that. But the joy that I have gotten being able to connect with people and hearing from people, oh, I really needed to see this video today. And also getting to talk with people like my fellow Overwatch actors or fellow television actors and being able to ask them to answer things for people on the channel has been really special too, because you're getting more vantage points that you might not have been able to get if I hadn't been able to put that out there. So I'm having a great time with it. In fact, I'm working on a little spin-off of it as we speak that hopefully, that I'll be going into that sort of taps into my awkward, goofy, decidedly not athletic part.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. I don't want to put it out there just yet because, I got a lot of stuff to do first. But yeah, I'm really grateful for the level of enthusiasm there has been for that series, because this is the first time in my life that my career and my sort of life mission have been so in tune with each other. And feeling like every time I walk into a room, I can ask someone, what do you need? And I have something to offer is a very empowering thing. And I think if we all were able to walk into a place less worried about what we don't have to offer and more excited to connect with other people to see how we can help each other, there'd be a lot less fear and a lot less lack of confidence and all of those things, despite the fact that, trust me, I can have my moments.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine just, the very act of sort of being an actor, and when you're sort of starting out, or even, whenever you audition, it's sort of putting yourself out there, as you've said, and, obviously exposing yourself to, not getting parts and a rejection of a kind, nothing personal, but sort of, sometimes not getting feedback. Is that it's kind of putting yourself, I guess, as an actor through that on a very regular basis? Is there sort of
absolutely
anything you've kind of learned from sort of that in terms of staying positive? Because I'd imagine it must be tough at times.
100%. First of all, I just want to dispel one thing, because you mentioned positivity as the I'm Funsize kind of brand and stuff like that. It's not always about being positive, but it is about being authentic and about taking care of yourself. Because if we were always positive, look, we are built also, we may be built to have the greatest experience of our life, but sometimes bad stuff happens. Sometimes we need to be able to have the negative side of ourselves in order to have the positive. So really it's about navigating those ups and downs rather than just being always positive that I'm trying to put out there.
For sure, yeah.
Otherwise it's a really boring life. But that said, in terms of putting a more tolerable spin on the level of rejection that one gets as a performer, it goes right back to that sense of walking into a room with an offering rather than walking into a room hoping and praying that someone will give you a job. And that has been a very recent discovery for me in the grand scheme of my life. When I moved out to LA, I came out here with the attitude for the first time in my life, okay, Los Angeles, tell me what you need. Because I've gone through my life trying to fit into what I thought people wanted. I'm stuck now. I'm a little broken down. I'm a little bit unsure. I think I have something to offer, and I want to be able to offer it to you. So what do you need? And through that mindset, and then gradually realizing booking the job is not the success. Booking the role is not the success. Booking a room is a success. Walking into a room and making fans of the people in that room, that's your success. And my favorite way to go into an audition now is with a level of excitement, knowing that I can walk in there and silently or out loud, silently more often than not, say to the people in the room, don't worry about it, I got you. Worst case scenario, you're going to be entertained for the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long we're in here. But best case scenario, your job is done because I've just found you the person that you want to play this role. But I promise you, it's not going to suck. It's not going to be an unpleasant experience. I got you. And that is really, really fun and empowering and exciting. And it's a fun way to go through life, because it's less needy. I think a lot of us in this business, I know, I've done it many, many times, walk into an audition with a sense of, oh God, please be me, please pick me. And that neediness is palpable. And this is why I prefer to fall in love with every role rather than just one, because then I can fall in love with it for the time I'm there. And then if it doesn't happen, I can let it go. And I'm not the kind of person who is capable of not caring. So I have to lean the other way. Some people are capable of walking into a room and being like, screw you, if I get this job, great. If I don't get this job, I don't care. And that's how they are able to be detached about getting a role. I don't have that. Just kind of like whatever, I'm going to get it or I'm not going to get it. That keeps them relaxed. That's not my testimony. I can't really do that anymore. I love caring about things and I love caring about people. So since that can be either a detriment or a superpower, I prefer to lean into a superpower because it makes everything a little bit easier for me.
If you were going to have a traditional superpower outside of
teleportation, oh my God, it's totally what Symmetra has. Are you kidding me? This is why it's both a dream role and a total tease, because I have always wanted to be able to teleport.
Where would you
That has been
teleport
my
to?
thing. Oh God, everywhere. I like 24 hours would be like 92 hours because I get so much done. I'd see my mom, I'd see my friends, I'd see my honey, I'd visit the dog in the middle of the day when I'm working. I'd teleport over to Mumbai and visit relatives. I'd go see someone's show. Like just to be able to be, and it would completely eliminate FOMO from my life because I would never be afraid of missing out because I could just teleport there and then go back to where I had to be. So that has 100% been the superpower that I have wanted. And I'm just hoping that I'm a step closer to it rather than this just being a tease. Because I'm hoping that Symmetra is just a step closer to getting there. Someday, man, someday. Ever since I started watching Star Trek, I was like, oh, please beam me somewhere.
Have you played a Vulcan? Did I read your Instagram?
I have, yes. I played a Vulcan. I did a commercial last year for Rocket Loans right around the time of the Star Trek release. And so I got to play a Vulcan, which was awesome. And we did 3 hours of hair and makeup beforehand to transform me into a Vulcan. And I'm pleased to say J.J. Abrams approved the use of my look. So I must have been a good Vulcan.
You're an approved Vulcan.
I'm an approved Vulcan. So yes, I played a Vulcan, but I didn't get to actually be on Star Trek. So that's the next thing, because God only knows that's a universe I would love to be a part of. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Have you been a fan of Star Trek? Is that sort of...
Oh God, yes, since the original. I stopped watching regularly somewhere in the middle of Voyager.
Gotcha.
I think it was right around when Janeway got her haircut, because I was like, no, why you guys got to make her, like, she was so hot, and now you guys are making 7 of 9 the focus of everyone's hotness. And Janeway was hot too, and she was this powerful, not 20 years old lady, and so I got a little bummed. But yeah, no, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of science fiction and fantasy fiction that presents a world that we want to be a part of, whether it's Star Trek or Harry Potter or his Dark Materials or Overwatch, really, because Overwatch, Blizzard's big focus was creating a world that's worth fighting for. You want to be a part of that world. Even when bad things happen in that world, there's an aiming for something aspirational and beautiful, and I love that. That's why I love so much fantasy and sci-fi stuff, because it's aspirational.
What were your sort of favorite fantasy stories or books or things when you were growing up then? Or now, for example?
I loved Piers Anthony's books. I loved Robert A. Heinlein's books, especially Time Enough for Love. I know Stranger for Strange Land is probably his most famous book, but Time Enough for Love was a really special one for me. And then, of course, The Lord of the Rings. Who doesn't love The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit? And in recent years, his Dark Materials, I cannot believe that it took me so long to read that trilogy of The Golden Compass and The Subtle Knife, and now I'm spacing out on the last, The Amber Spyglass.
Of course, Pullman's released his new books, I think.
I know, The Book of Dust. Yeah. I know. And I've been holding off getting it because I know once I get it, I'm going to need to binge read it, because that's what I'll do. And so I need to have a good chunk of time to be able to shut down and do that. Or I'll just get it and have something to look forward to for 10 minutes every night. But yeah, I love, again, those worlds where the heroes and heroines are, even if they are aliens or dragons or whomever, oh God, I didn't mention Dune. Jesus, of course, Dune.
Herbert.
Dune. I can't tell you how many times I've read that, and how many times I, in my day-to-day life, have said, fear is the mind killer, do not fear. That whole thing. I've done the whole litany. Like, I do that all the time. Fear is the little death, at least, the whole thing. Because I love it so much. I love these worlds where people have, or characters have, these very real, very human problems, even though they are set in this wild fantasy universe. That ultimately the human condition and the things that we fight for and that we crave and that we love are all very, very universal. And I love the telling of stories in that roundabout way, because sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees if we are telling a realistic story. Sometimes it's very hard for us to grasp things that way. That's why myths have been around since ancient times, because storytelling tells us more about ourselves.
You come back to myths, and I noticed on one of your tweets when you were talking about Chris Hemsworth and Supernova Expo, you said you wrote a Norse myth in 7th grade.
Yes. I was oh my God, I'm sorry that I got so excited about that. That was so silly. I just can't believe you brought it up. I don't even remember where I said it, but yeah, in 7th grade, Mrs. Conkey, our 7th grade English teacher, had assigned us all that we had to write some kind of myth. And I was very into, at the time, Norse mythology, because I had played Dungeons and Dragons and, deities and demigods. I'd learned about all of the heroes and
so
everything.
Many questions I have to ask you about that, but no, sorry, continue.
But also growing up, I obviously had, I was obviously exposed to the Hindu mythology and all of the gods and goddesses there. But in Hindu mythology, the gods and goddesses were my superheroes. I learned about them through the comic books, through Amar Chitrakatha comic books, and learned about them from my mom and dad as well. But so they were my superheroes. So then it only naturally unfolded that I fell in love with the Greek myths and the Norse myths and whatever. So I was going through this whole Norse mythology phase, and I wrote the story of how Norway got its jagged coast, and it was all about a fisherman named Sven Svensson who went off to save his village because for some reason there were no fish, and it was a fishing village, and he couldn't figure out what was going on. So he went out into the ocean, and he went out into the ocean, and he went for days, and he went far, and finally he got so mad because there were no fish, and he started railing at the gods and saying, "Why would you do this to my people? Why would you take from us our livelihood? I don't believe in you. I don't believe you're so powerful. Prove it." And needless to say, that didn't make Thor so happy. So he destroyed the village and obviously destroy. That was the big tragedy for Sven. It was awful. And then Freya took pity on him, and when he went home and realized that it was his hubris that had caused all of this, Freya took pity on him, and she said, "I can't bring your village back, but I will make sure that for the rest of eternity, Norway is known for this jagged coast that was created because of this destruction." And that's how the fjords were created.
Wow, that's. Have you ever thought about I'm genuinely I'm not being silly. I'm genuinely impressed.
I'm impressed by that kid. I look back at that. I think I have it in the house somewhere. I'm looking back. I know. I'm looking back on it, and I'm like, damn, you were a good writer. You should have. But isn't it fun to think that a 7th grader coming up with a story like that, all about the human condition and maybe explaining something in the world, it almost sounds the same as something coming from our ancient Greek myths or our present day mythology, which we are getting through movies and Overwatch and comic books and all of that. That's present day mythology, right? Our stories are still our stories. They explain our lives. They explain our conditions. So anyone is capable of building a personal mythology that helps them understand the world. It's just a matter of letting loose your creative juices.
I think it's fascinating. Obviously, when we look at sort of ancient Roman and Greek myths and things, sort of thousands of years ago, if another future race came and tried to look at films and DVDs and video games and tried to understand our culture and life,
yeah. I mean, I would hope. We are in a time. While it is a golden age of television, and there is some amazing work out there, we're also in a time where there's a lot of darkness being reflected back to us in a lot of the stories that are being told. And I would hope that some alien race would be able to see the Gestalt, would be able to see all of the stories being told, because there are some beautiful, very aspirational things out there too. And I want us, I think right now as a global community, we need to be looking at solutions. And you can't look at solutions when you're seeing the world as a dark and horrible place. It's really hard to do that. You need to look at the world as a place that's worth fighting for.
Obviously, anyone who looks at sort of an issue with one particular, sort of visor or one particular viewpoint, then your solutions are also going to be dictated from that viewpoint as well. So it can be.
Yeah. So again, the more broad, if said alien race came down, I would hope they would have the time and the inclination to see the big picture.
Or at least sort of, be able to sort of define between BuzzFeed and Twitter.
Yes, of course. Be able to really see to pay attention to humanity as humanity, not from media or social media or stuff like that, because those are very tricky waters to navigate these days, and I think we're all struggling with it, period. With are we using social media and media in general and storytelling for the powers of good, for the powers of evolution, or the powers of devolution, de-evolution? What are we using it for? It goes back to what I was talking about, like my 3 rules on social media right now, because I think there is enough damage being done by it being used for different purposes right now, whether it's people in game being cruel to each other, or people on social media name calling, or people on higher levels doing the same thing.
For sure. I think part of it's probably sort of, it's just the sheer pace. I mean, when I was,
yes.
when I first went on Facebook, it was university only, and it was.
Yep.
I'm dating myself a bit here.
No, I'm with you. Yeah.
And it's sort of when I was at university, it was one of a couple of universities in the UK that were actually on it, and it wasn't a public thing. And then now, fast forward a bunch of years, and I've worked with social media a bit. I wouldn't say that I'm up to date on like Snapchat and some of these things. And I'm sure in 5 years' time, the entire landscape is going to be entirely different, and it's kind of sort of. You mentioned people being tough online. I think the veil of anonymity and how people act behind it is certainly a challenge.
Yeah,
and I think part of it's probably as humans and society, and then the way we're wired and the way we act around each other probably isn't adapting or keeping pace. I don't know, with the way that sort of it's changing in some ways. But
yeah, I mean, this is definitely a larger conversation. But one of the things that I keep trying to do, whether it's with my videos and going through the comments or Twitter or wherever, is reminding people, for better or for worse, there is another human being on the other side of that comment. You are not, just because you are behind your keyboard, and just because you have that, as you said, veil of anonymity, just because you are not in the presence of that person doesn't mean someone or someones are not affected. So, when we're talking face to face with people, we talk differently than we do online. And I'm trying very hard, at least for myself, to create this own kind of code of ethics that helps us reconnect to the actual person in the room, even if that person in the room is on a screen 3,000 miles away. Because otherwise it's just, the pace of it is too easy. The way people, throw out a tweet is so easy. The way people can say things without recognizing the tone might be harmful, or not harmful to someone's feelings, but just might not be what you mean. It's a really tricky set of waters for us all to navigate. And I think it takes a lot more conscious decision making than we are necessarily all doing at this moment. I know it's a lot of work for me to, as I think it is for many people. It takes focus and it takes intention to be able to do that while people are expecting to be able to reach you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, via text, via Twitter, via Facebook, via blah, 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 blah. It takes a lot. It takes a lot.
Just having a sort of chat to you and things, and sort of, forgetting 8-hour time differences and things like that. And it's kind of, it's a very always on thing, isn't it? And it's just like reading some text as well, and sort of, obviously the way that you write some text and the way that someone else reads it could be two entirely different.
Yeah, you can have a complete misunderstanding just based on the fact that you can't tell tone from text. So in the same way that technology has helped our lives tremendously, I think there are certainly, pitfalls for us all that they're working on avoiding. And it's just, it's life. I imagine the generations before us had that experience when, when the telephone was invented, and the generations way before them. And, it's been technology is a thing, can be used for the powers of good and the powers of evil. And let's just hope that we all continue to navigate it as wisely as we can.
Sure we will. And if Overwatch is only sort of, 30 to 50 or so years in the future in terms of timeline, and we have teleportation then I'm sure we'll get around these problems as well.
Please.
And there'll be no
Please give me a teleporter.
There'll be no more fear of missing out. So you mentioned Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, how did that come into your childhood?
My older brother is one of the most awesome human beings on the planet. And I wanted to do everything that he did when I was growing up. And when I was 8 years old, he gifted me the basic D&D set. And I fell in love with it.
Which rule edition was it then? Can you remember?
Oh, God. It was like, ye olde timey. This was like the very, 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 very beginning. And then I moved from the basic set to the AD&D set, but the original Player's Handbook, the original Dungeon Master's Guide. the one with the big like demon dude on the front,
Gotcha, yeah.
like ye oldie timey. And I read them cover to cover, and I played with my friends and whatever, and I won the 4th grade spelling bee because I knew how to spell vengeance. It was all, because, that I learned that from there. And the education that it gave me that I didn't realize it was giving me until later was so special. I really think that role-playing games that are that in-depth are excellent for people to be a part of, but particularly for kids, because if you can make learning that much fun, and reading and math and learning about teamwork and critical skills. I mean, you only have to watch Stranger Things to see how that, to see how it affected those kids and made those kids smarter and work better together.
Absolutely.
So they're
able to survive otherworldly threats as well.
Yeah, that too. I mean, that might not necessarily happen in our day-to-day life, but it might. So who knows?
It's good to be prepared.
It's always good to be prepared. And so I am a huge proponent of that. I stopped actually campaigning probably, I want to say college, just because of time constraints. And then I stuck with doing RPGs on the PC. So I was playing like Baldur's Gate and Shadows of Amen, all of that stuff. And then it all just kind of died down. Like my gaming got more and more simple until probably when I was doing Metamorphoses on Broadway was the last game I remember being obsessed with. I was playing this silly game called Heroes of Might and Magic. And then I got rid of it because I was like, you need to spend a little more time doing all the things you're supposed to be doing right now. But I also know that the second I put a game back on my PC, I'm going to be in trouble. So I shouldn't say my PC because I only have a Mac. So if I actually had a PC, I would be in big trouble because I'd probably be playing Overwatch all the time.
Oh, you can stick various stuff on Mac. Do you remember what your first Dungeons & Dragons character was?
I don't remember what she was. I remember exactly what she looked like. Because I was into figure drawing at the time too. But I suspect, if experience afterwards was any telling, that she was either a cleric ranger or a cleric fighter. Because I was very into the combination of being a fighter and a healer, which is funny because that's what I want to be in real life. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that it was either a cleric fighter or a cleric ranger. I was never good at choosing one class. It always had to be a multi-class character because I didn't have the decision-making skills to make it one person.
Awesome stuff, and it's a lot more, do a little bit of everything. Of course, Matt Mercer,
McCreed, of course.
He does a critical role, of course. Would you ever consider maybe...
I would in a heartbeat. My problem is that getting up to speed on the current rule books and the current way to play the game might be a little embarrassing, but I would do it in a heartbeat. I would love it.
I'm no expert myself, but I think, the new 5e edition, I think a lot of your experience would probably, if you played AD&D, it would probably transfer across. It's a lot simpler than it used to be in a good way, very sort of, pick up. So who knows? I wouldn't worry too much.
Who knows?
There you go.
God knows I remember all of the deities and demigods, so at least I've got that covered. If we're dealing with Cthulhu or any ancient crazy myths or anything, I got you.
Anjali, sorry, thank you so much for your time. It's been really, really awesome.
Oh, thank you, Craig. It's been so much fun.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the Overwatch community or anything, just to sign off with?
Just keep being yourselves and enjoying all of the things that make you you, and not worrying about anything that you don't have or that you aren't, because the whole point of having superheroes in our myths, in our TV, in our movies, in our games, is so that we see the hero in ourselves. And there's a reason that there is a character for everyone to identify with, and a character that you desperately want to kill, because you have that in you. You have that. We all have a superpower. It just may not be lasers and photon beams. It could be kindness and generosity. It could be art. It could be singing. It could be math. It could be anything. So I hope that this game and hopefully everything that I continue to do in my career going forward can somehow inspire people to see the goodness and the greatness in themselves, because then I will die a happy woman.
And of course, everyone should go check out your YouTube channel. That's at Sweet
Yes, please.
Ange, I think.
Yes, Sweet Ange with 3 E's. The series is called I Am Funsize. And if anyone ever wants to ask me questions, you're all more than welcome to email me at Anjali, Anjali, at IamFunsize.com. And I read everything, whether I get back to you immediately or not. Please know that I'm reading everything and you're being heard. And I will get to you as soon as I can.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It's been great talking to you. Take care.
There we go. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. And do say setting up the car wash in the comments if you've got this far, because you have done very, very well, and I thank you for listening to this all the way through. Please do, of course, throw a like, subscribe, comment in the comments with what you think, maybe who you'd like me to try and talk to next as well, and a big thanks to Anjali. Please do check out her YouTube channel, Sweet Anj with 3's, that's SWEEETANJ. You can see it in the comment pin below as well. And also do throw her a follow on Twitter as well. That's also linked below too. Big thanks to my patrons on Patreon. This kind of thing would not exist without you guys. If you'd like to see how you can support this kind of content on my channel, maybe from just $1, £1, €1 or so a month, entirely up to you, get some rewards as well, please do check out patreon.com/Hammeh. Cheers for tuning in, guys. I've been Hammeh. Take it easy.